Hi, beautiful people. Davorka here again. And yesterday I actually made a video that I wanted to post, but I just felt a little bit iffy about it. Subject was law of attraction. Again, I know it can be a little bit boring if it's repeated all the time, but in my case, and if you are like me, it's like never-ending subject of new discoveries. So, because that video is not posted, and actually it's in my trash at the moment and it's going to be deleted forever, it's not good and it's too long, I decided to make this video and just focus on the subject at hand. So, as always, law of attraction is everything around us, everything you have in your life is basically made by you. You attracted it. How you did that is just by being yourself. So everything that you are and everything that you believe in, everything that you think about, even unconsciously, that's all that is manifesting around you. So whatever your life is at this moment, and if you are dissatisfied with that, just take a hard look at yourself and then see where are you slipping, basically. So a few days ago I stumbled upon this video on YouTube, and it was regarding this guy was talking about all sorts of things, but one of the things that really stuck with me was regarding the energy. And he was saying that um, today there is this new age thing that everybody is saying about the energy, the unified energy field where we all need to tap in. And it's not true, because we all have our own energy fields, every one of us, so we don't need to tap into that field, because it's like we have our own power. And I was like, okay. And he's like, oh, it's a mumbo jumbo, because that's not true. And people are misled. And I was like, okay, I understand how people can understand that from that point of view, especially if you are a newbie in this part of knowledge. But I'm just going to give you my twist on it. So, yes, we all have our own energy bubbles. I call it like that because in my mind I see it visually like a big bubble around myself. And usually even Esther Hicks and everybody else says, like, you have your own things, but everything that you ever wanted, good or bad, everything that you ever thought of is in your vortex. What are you attracting right now depends on what kind of vibration or energy level you are, because everything that is around us has the energy, right? It has certain energy level. So, but that doesn't mean that it's around us and it's in that unified field. No, everything is in your own energy field, in your own bubble. So every person on this planet has their own energy. You have your own energy power that you can tap in whenever you want. Everything that you have comes from that energy, and everything that is coming to your way, it is from that energy. And that energy is not somebody else's, it's completely yours. So when you understand that, then you finally figure it out. Why do people say that there is no lack? No, there is no lack. Everything you want, you have. There is plenty for everybody. And there is no way that somebody come into your vortex and just steal something from you. If this was meant for you, it's yours. It's definitely yours. And that person can have their own thing. Maybe those things can be similar to the things that you want, but those are not your things. Those are things custom made for those people. So for me, when I finally got to this understanding, I was, it felt like a big weight was lifted from me, because we come to this world and then everybody's telling you, okay, this is a cutthroat world. You have to be first in everything better than everybody else. You have to be competitive. And I was never competitive in that way. Don't get me wrong, I like playing games where I'm going to be playfully competitive, but when it comes to the real life and being competitive In that way, it just exhausts me, and I'm not interested in that. And in that point of view, I'm not successful, I guess, and I would never be a successful person because I don't like that kind of treatment and that kind of thinking that, like, I need to get this job, and if I don't get the job first, then somebody else is going to get it. No, I always believed and always knew that, my friends are my friends. Nobody can steal my friends. The jobs that comes to me are my jobs. Nobody can steal those, right? And things that come to me are my things because everything in my experience is custom made for me. So something that is custom made for me cannot be perfect for anybody else because I'm unique and there is nobody else like me. So and that actually reminded me of my latest professional experience on the way how I got my last job. So I mentioned in my previous video that I had a difficult coworker at that job, and of course, like, this is normal and it happens in everybody's lives. We need to have challenges in every area of our lives so we can move for further, and those challenges teach us something. And one of the biggest thing for me was it taught me a lot about myself and a lot about the boundaries that I have to keep with other people and what I'm comfortable with, what I'm not comfortable with. And also I was amazed on how great I am because I was always putting myself down, more down than everybody else, and I was always more harsh to myself than I would be to anybody else, basically. So it was in a way an eye-opening experience, and I'm really grateful for that. But how did I get this job? So when I moved to that part of the country, I was clueless. I had already some working experience in Canada, and although none of those were on my level of education, I was like, and of course, none of those were on my level of capabilities. But I was like, I was just happy to get anything because I knew I'm a newcomer here, and no matter what kind of education and experience I have from before, it's going to be extra tricky to show yourself here because it's a new country, and which I understand. When you come to, so everybody who comes to your own home, you're going to think twice if you're going to give them a benefit of the doubt, to show them every small piece of your home and your intimate part of your homes. And it's similar with the country. So country needs to protect itself and its own citizens. So everybody who comes from outside, they need to prove themselves extra. So it's because education system in every country is not the same. Although in my country, education system is really good, and I know that from everybody who went outside of my country and they really succeeded in other countries, because our education system is quite stiff in a way, and really harsh. So everybody who finishes certain degrees, they they are equipped with handling a lot of things in whenever that comes in their way. So that's just my experience. But I do know that not every country has the same level of education. So I understand that, and I was not complaining about that. I understood where they stand, because if it was me, I would probably look at the situation from the same point of view, right? So when it came to this part of the country, I was like, oh, really clueless of what I would do. I just knew, because of my experience so far, what I just don't want to continue doing anymore. And as a student, I worked many, many jobs. And even when I came to here, I worked many jobs, and some of them were like really low level jobs. I'm not diminishing them, but I have to say, like, when you are working some really low level and job that by any worldview, you're supposed to be above that, or you're supposed to be on the next level because of your education, experience, and everything else. And you're still stuck with something that is not even entry level, it's below entry level. It can be a little bit soul crushing, and it can, be it can rub you in a wrong way, and you can go into the dark place of the soul, let's call it like that. But I was okay. I knew that, every experience has with its own lessons. So I was like, okay, I did that, learned something. I'm not going back. I need to move forward. So when we came there, I was looking for a job, but I really didn't know how to what to expect. Although I did had some experience, Canadian experience, so it was a little bit easier for me. However, it's still the same thing because I went from one part of the country to completely other part of the country. So in a way, it's really similar to just moving from another country to this country. And so I was again at the beginning, and that was my third beginning in Canada at that point, because we moved for the first 5-6 years. We moved a lot. And I heard from acquaintance that I just met that there is this organization, non-profit organization, that helps people with finding a job, and they were like, "Okay, go for it." And I'm like, "Okay." I was thinking about it. Just I'm going to go for it. And then in the meantime, I got pregnant with my first kid, and I was just focusing all my efforts on my family at that point, of course. And when my baby girl was 1.5, I actually went for this program that was provided by this nonprofit organization. And this program is called Bridge to Work. So basically, your knowledge that you have and your skills can be transferable. So they're helping you to find something that is transferable. So if your degree is not accepted here and you have to go for the to do the whole study again, like in my case I had that problem, then you can find something else and just see how transferable your skills are to other type of roles and other types of jobs. And of course, when you are a newcomer, you don't know how the um, how that whole employment thing works, and how the jobs works, and where could you go, what's the industry. It's different, every country has different things. So this helped a lot, and also because I had some experience, it helped me. And I was lucky enough to get the volunteering gig after that for about 2 months in another nonprofit organization that had similar services as this one. And I loved it because this nonprofit organization was, they had many services, many programs, but the program that I was helping with with newcomers, and I was a newcomer. I had every knowledge about that, because I went through that, and in a way, I was still in that life, and going through certain stages of newcomer life. So I just loved it. I loved helping people. I was volunteering there, and when you volunteer, you're just doing your, if somebody needs a coffee, you're making a coffee. Basically, it was not like that, but basically it was helping customers with computers, and printing, faxing, copying, calling clients to confirm that they are coming for the workshops, helping set up workshops, and um, that kind of stuff. And it was interesting to me because everything was new. So I made quite an impression with my then co-workers, and they actually recommended me to the boss, and the boss said, "Okay, we'll keep you in mind," because the role that I was really interested was the counselor role. And it was really because I saw what those people were doing. And at one point in my life, actually, when I came to Canada before, I was waiting for certain papers to be done. I couldn't do anything else except help people, so I was doing that. And especially with my background in law, I was perfect for a lot of a lot of things, even explaining some difficult legal document maybe to somebody. For me, it was a little bit easier because I come from that background. I had my knowledge in that. So I did apply after my volunteering gig ended up. I applied a few times for the jobs there. They had other people in mind in the meantime, because many people went through this company, and many people were volunteering there also, and many people worked only on contract. So when the one contract is done, they're still free for some other contract. And I was fortunate enough to stay in a good on a good terms with almost everybody I worked there. And with one lady, I really we started being really good friends, and I'm so blessed and happy to have met her. So a few months after, they actually called me and they offered me a contract job for 2 months, I believe it was 1 to 2 months, maybe more. They cannot promise anything, but it was for um, just few hours in a week, like maybe 10 to 15 hours in a week, which was for me at that point not doable, because I had a baby. She was year and a half, and I was like, when I have to pay for the daycare was just as expensive as my rent. And when I was offered to work for something that would not even pay for my daycare, and I was like, you know what, guys, like, thank you, really, I really appreciate that you're thinking of me, but if it's just me by myself, I would say, yeah, I would jump for it right away. But I have a family to think about, and it's not just me. I have somebody that needs me, and I can't get into more depth, basically, because my husband was the only one working then. So they were upset, of course. But at that point, but one thing I was not thinking of was that, I was just looking at the situation as it is. And I didn't know what's going to happen and what can change. And I didn't allow myself to see the possibilities, because sometimes even something that doesn't look good can turn into something that is perfect for you. And so later on, I found out that this contract was just as it was, but usually a person who was working the job was working more than what contract said. It's just that they were like protecting themselves in a way that they can guarantee you this amount of hours, and they cannot guarantee you more than that. But in reality, person doing that role was working more than that. And when I found out about it, when they explained to me, I was like, okay, then in that case, I'm interested. And they're like, oh, now it's too late because they found already somebody. And I was like, okay, it is what it is. It was not meant to be. Let's move on. And yeah, I was upset at myself. I wanted to keep myself, but I was like, you know what? I can't go back. So what now? And then actually some 3 to 4 months later, I got a call again, and this friend of mine, she said, like, go for this because another job opening is here, and it's for the counselor role, the one that you want. Go and apply. And people here, people have already recommended you, so you have a good base. And I was like, okay, great. So I applied and I went to this branch for the job interview. They called me, and my then later on boss, she was nice, and I was like, okay, so there is maybe a possibility that I'm going to get this, but we'll see. And basically she called me by the end of the week telling me that they went with another person. And I was like, okay, it was, I guess, not meant to be. However, at that point, when I went for that job, the job that was offered was 6 months contract. And again, the salary was good because it's a contract. You don't have benefits, but still, it was, if I only got it, it would be a step forward, and it's a great thing because a lot of people want that role. It's a really good role. It's a good company. It's a good pay, and the hours are good. Clientele is good. So everything was perfect. It seemed like everything is perfect for me. Of course, I would love to have a longer contract, but even like 3 to 6 months, it's okay because usually those contracts were for 3 to 6 months. And this contract was to, um, because the lady who was working that job, she was sick. She was on a sick leave. So this was just to replace her until she comes back. And that was basically indefinite because they didn't know when she was going to come back. So that was okay. And I was not selected, and I was like, okay, it didn't happen, I guess it was not meant to be. However, a few days later, another lady from that same branch called me, and she said that she got my informations from the first boss that I was talking to about the counselor role. And she said, like, she recommended you, and I need somebody to just take over from another person because another person is going away. And she was working on a project that was still on for a couple of months, and then after that the project was done until next year. So I knew it was just going to be a couple of months, and I was like, I'm not going to make the same mistake. The better thing about this contract was that it was full-time. It was not good paid as the counselor role. It Some things were not perfect. There were some late nights work involved, and also some terrain work, which I didn't mind, but I had a small problem about getting the car in the evening because I was supposed to work in the morning, and my husband was working evening shifts all the time, so it would be a little bit tricky. But after losing that first opportunity and just giving up on that first opportunity, I told to myself, like, whatever comes my way, I'm just going to welcome it with my open arms. And I learned my lesson, and I did. And so I went for this interview, and this lady liked me, I liked her, and I liked the other lady also, and we just hit it off. And she was like, okay, great, when can you start? And I'm like, as soon as I get my kid to daycare. She's like, can you get your kid to daycare by Monday? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I believe that day was like Thursday, Friday, something like that. And I was like, okay, I can. And then I went on, and I was lucky. On the first day, I actually found a daycare that had a spot open for 2-year-old at that time. And I was like, okay, great. But when it comes to the daycare, there is a subsidy that you can apply for. But to apply for the subsidy and to wait for their decision, and for that subsidy to kick in, it takes from 1 month to 2 months. So once the subsidy kicks in, it kicks in from that day. It doesn't go reversibly. So 1 to 2 months, there was a possibility that I have to pay for that for the daycare from my own pocket. And as long as I knew that I'm going to make enough money to give it back, and just to cover that expenses, I was okay. And at this point, I knew that. So I paid everything, and especially the first month is even extra because you have to pay some enrollment fee. So first month is, at least it was there, a little bit more expensive. So I did it, and I found daycare. My girl started going to the daycare, and it was hard for me. It was hard for her, but we went through it. And the day I, sent that information to this lady, and she's like, okay, great. I'm gonna let you know when to come. And then on Monday, when she was supposed to let me go when to come, she told me, like, oh, not today, maybe on Wednesday I'm gonna let you know. And then it was like, no, not today, maybe on Friday I'm gonna let you know. And then on Friday she said, like, you know what, I'm gonna let you know right now. I don't know anything because I'm waiting for the HR. And I was like, okay, what's happening? Because my kid is like 10 days already in the daycare. I'm paying for that, and there's no job, I'm not working, so what the heck is happening? And actually went to the company again, and I talked to this friend of mine, and I was like, this is the situation. If I'm not going to get a job, I have to get my kid out of that daycare because that thing costs money. And it's not cheap. It's almost as much as I'm paying for my rent. It was, I believe, a couple of hundreds less than that. It was almost the same price. And I was like, you know what? My girl going in or not going in, I still have to pay until I cancel it. And she was like, okay, I understand. And I was like, you know what? I understand that maybe there is some problem from their end, but I did my thing. Like, am I getting this job or not? Because everything is just on, everything was just in the spoken term. No, nothing was written. And she was like, okay, let me see with what I can find out. And then she went inside and she talked to the big boss, and the big boss told her something, and then she came back and she's like, I can't tell you anything, but there's something happening. Just keep your head up high, or something is good, and that actually calmed me a little bit. And I went home, and then this lady called me and she was like, Davorka, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but the lady that you were supposed to replace, she decided to stay for this role until the end of this project. So unfortunately, I don't have job for you at this point, although I would love to work with you. And I was like, oh shit, it's okay. What can I do? Like, I'm not going to, what, I can just cry or laugh, nothing else, right? And then she was like, but did the lady that recommended you to me, did she give you a call? And I'm like, no. And she's like, okay, well, she's supposed to call you because she has something for you and she needs to ask you. So I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to leave that to her, but just expect her call because she's supposed to call you. And I was like, okay. And that was Friday. And later on that day, that first lady that I had my first interview with, the interview for counselor position, she called me back and she's like, are you still interested into this position? I'm like, yeah, of course. And she's like, okay, because the lady that we picked instead of you, she got a permanent position at another organization. So she is quitting on me after only, I believe at that point it was 3 weeks of working there. And she says, like, I have an opening and I have to fill it right now. So if you're interested, I can send you the contract, and the contract is not going to be for 6 months, it's going to be for 1 year. And I was like, 1 year, because up to that point they almost never gave the contract for more than 6 months. Usually it was 3 months or 6 months. And I guess because this lady before me, she was the second or the third one who left them because of the length of the contract, and other organizations were providing or contract for 1 year or permanent position. So they decided to finally make it a 1 year, because they knew that the lady that was on that was sick and that needed to be replaced was not going back in next 1 year. So that's how I got this position. And later on I was thinking about it, because this is about that energy field, right? So nobody could take that position for me. This position was custom made for me. So before that position was custom made for me, I could not get it. So it had to be played at that. This lady had to get that position so she can move on to another position with other organization, for this company to see that they need to make this contract position for 1 year instead of 6 months. And it was great for me. I was so happy and so lucky, and I already had everything in place. My baby girl was in daycare and she was adjusting well, and everything just felt and just fell in perfectly. It felt like a puzzle coming together. So I was, later on, when everything has happened, you can see why everything had to go on this way. Because if I got the position from the day one, it would be only 6 months contract, and then of course I'm sure that they would prolong it. However, it's I'm who knows how difficult it would be for me, and just thinking about after 5 months, oh my God, am I going to stay on this job or not? So um, at the end, it worked perfectly, and I'm so blessed and so happy to have been working there and to had that opportunity. And actually, I was really lucky because a lot of people didn't get even the opportunity to work there for 3 months. So in a way, I did attracted it. So when it comes to that energy field and energy playing, guys, it's not everybody's. Whatever is in your vortex, it's only yours. So it comes just in my situation, like when this job was custom made just for me and perfect for me, then it came on my plate. Before it was not custom made for me and not perfect for me, it didn't came to my plate. So I see life like that with everything. So whatever is happening in your life and you feel like you lost something, you didn't lost anything. If you don't have it in your life, it's because it's not yours. From the start, it was not yours. So whatever is yours is here and it's coming. And sometimes some things need to pass because they're here only to teach you something, and then you need to move to the next level. So you're not supposed to have a pacifier for the rest of your lives, right? The pacifier just goes with the territory of being a little baby. So don't hold on to the old things. Don't think that the world is against you. World is always for you, and nobody can steal your stuff. Your stuff are always just and only yours. Just like my job was waiting for me. Actually, it was when it was perfect for me, I got it. So I'm gonna leave you with this thought. I'm so sorry for this video being a little bit longer. I didn't meant for it, but thank you so much for all of you who made it till the end. I do hope that this was helpful, and it gave you a little bit different perspective on life. And I'm gonna wrap up now. See you on my next video. In the meantime, please do hit like, subscribe, and of course comment if you have any comment. Bye bye.